All right. Was Representative Dan Crenshaw joking or serious when he said he'd probably kill Tucker Carlson if the two ever met? Let's take a look at The Hill. They have this clip, which has been deleted by I believe, by the original news agency that posted it. So thankfully, Robbie Suave got on this one and it's on the internet. Here's what happened.
Then, once the interview was over, this hot mic moment happened.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. If I ever meet him, I'll find him.
Now, if you couldn't catch that last part of the soundbite, a GB News reporter interviewing Dan Crenshaw tweeted, Crenshaw, quote, told me when I laughed it wasn't a joke. The British outlet later deleted the video.
Okay, so where do we begin on this one? Where do we begin on this one?
This is straight out of the West Wing playbook. If any of you remember, the West Wing was a show on NBC that was kind of a spin-off TV series of the movie The American President. And in that TV series, there was a hot mic moment where the president said something that he really, really, really shouldn't have before the camera stopped rolling. And here's the deal. Okay, let me get my personal biases out of the way. I used to be the biggest Dan Crenshaw guy. I was like, a soldier, somebody who grassroots, he's brought it all together. He's representing Americans. And over the last 8 years or so, he's just become everything that he fought against to be a politician. I will say this.
It's funny you say that, Bill, because actually, if we watched more of that clip from Rising on the Hill, they have a tweet from somebody in the Republican Party, I believe, who said basically Dan Crenshaw was like the most potential demolished, to become something, but like he had so much potential, and then he himself responsible for it, nobody else's fault, just kind of crashed and burned, and just sort of became kind of like a neocon, I guess.
I'd agree with that. I would agree.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to say that's what I saw.
Yeah. And I didn't see that part of the Rising clip, but I would agree with that. This was somebody at one point, if he was to Republicans what AOC was to left-wing liberals. Now he's the new Nancy Pelosi. He really is. He's the right-wing Nancy Pelosi. And I hate that because he is an American hero and did service for his country, but that doesn't absolve you from being a dick. And it definitely doesn't absolve you from, making threats towards anyone, much less a journalist. Now, don't get me wrong. I went back and I've looked at some of the clips that Tucker Carlson has, ran this man down. So in the back of my head, I've probably thought, man, if he talked to me like that, or talked about me like that, I'd have probably done come through. Okay. As we say in the streets, it's like, F around and find out. I probably would have already confronted Tucker Carlson and been like, all right, cameras are here. You got all this stuff to say, talk to me. But Dan Crenshaw can't do that. He's a congressman. He's somebody, he got put in as a first string player, and he's got a bench skill set.
All right. I'm going to give you my opinion in a second, but first, all right, you're going to talk a big game. You better have some teeth to back it up. And if you want to make sure you keep all your teeth, you should go to greenpasture.org, use promo code Allison at checkout, and you'll get 10% off whatever you buy. But the best product that I have been taking, I shouldn't say the best. They've got a lot of great products depending on what your needs are. But the best product for me and my family, for our dental needs specifically, but it's a product that's really great for your overall health, honestly. But if you have cavities, you have issues with cavities, you got root canals, that kind of thing, then definitely consider looking into this. It is the fermented cod liver oil and concentrated butter oil blend. And these two products are mixed together based on basically the recipe that Dr. Weston Price came up with 100 years ago. He was a biological dentist, turn of the century, noticing that people that were coming to see him were getting cavities all of a sudden at an alarming rate. He actually spent a lot of his life studying indigenous cultures who had no dentists, but they had no cavities. And he was trying to figure out why. he came up really with diet nutrition. So this product has the fermented cod liver oil mixed with a concentrated butter oil blend, which means the vitamins and minerals in both of these products allow for your body to absorb both of them to basically their highest potential. So you took one without the other, you wouldn't get as much benefit, but you get both of them together. Again, there's a lot of great stuff here for other products. If you want this one, they have a gel, which is flavored, different flavors. We take cinnamon tingle. There's also capsules if you don't want to take the gel. They've got chest rubs like the natural Vicks Vapor Rub, all that good stuff. Greenpasture.org, promo code Allison. All right. So, first thing I want to ask you, Bill, is do you think Dan Crenshaw was joking? I mean, he has replied when Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote, "Did you threaten to kill my friend Tucker Carlson?" He wrote, "LOL, no," on Twitter. And so the question is, first off, like, do you think he was kidding or not?
I think Dan Crenshaw, you are married to a member of the special operations community.
Yes.
I think they are very well trained into saying things that they don't. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think he would have said it if he didn't mean it. And on top of Marjorie Taylor Greene's tweet, which, whatever, but the reporter said, no, he wasn't playing. So, I mean, I look at it this way. I honestly don't think Dan Crenshaw was playing when he said that. I don't think there was a joke involved. I don't think it was, oh, I'm just playing. I think he has a personal vendetta against Tucker Carlson. And if you do, that's fine, but man up and own it. Okay. He's just become this caricature of somebody okay, I'm going to put it out there like that. My favorite comic book character of all time over here, Deathstroke. Okay. He is a former special operations person in the military. He, and he lost an eye. And there was this meme going around for the longest time when Dan Crenshaw became a member of Congress. And then that little twink on Saturday Night Live made the joke about, oh, he lost an eye and blah, blah, blah. And then the other twink, Cenk Uygur's nephew, made the really bad joke. So I was in the camp, like I was waving the American flag in one hand and Dan Crenshaw flag in the other. But he's just went so off the rails with this obsession with Tucker Carlson that it's going to ruin him. And this one, it needs to be investigated. I don't think he was playing.
All right, at AllisonMorrow.locals.com, where you can be on my editorial board for $5 a month, and you will get the entirety of this show, Tittle Tattle, which is a supporter-only show in its entirety. So you have to be a supporter on Rockfin, Locals, or Patreon to get the entire show. You might get clips on other platforms, but you're not going to get the entire show. Okay, so AllisonMorrow.locals.com, great place to support the work. Oh, and also, send me some mail, P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. If you're not an internet type person, you don't want to join any of the platforms, I'd love to hear from you in the actual mail. You can send support for the show financially or just support, encouragement, your words. I get lots of really nice cards from people, and they really mean a lot. So thank you so much to people who do that. The kids, my producers, they open the mail on the way home. So please, nothing creepy. And also, don't send me cookies or anything. I really appreciate the thought, but I will assume you're trying to kill me. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. Okay, at AllisonMorrow.locals.com, Ginger Ninja says, veterans and disabled veterans are the DEI of the right, and I hate it. Sincerely, a disabled vet. Stop giving priority points for veterans. We're fine to succeed or fail on our own merits. I think that's interesting. I mean, I definitely, Dan Crenshaw, I would say, would be a product of that. I mean, and I think Ginger Ninja's right. There is a little bit of that deference, though. I do think that's kind of starting to change. I think it's starting to change as the sort of populist right, if you want to call it that, that's kind of anti-intervention overseas. I don't think that group is deferring to veterans in the same way that maybe like our parents or grandparents, Republican, would have done.
Right.
But, I think I think they still feel like veterans should be taken care of. Like, you should get health care, at the VA. They should admit that, like, the things that you were exposed to in war are probably giving you cancer, stuff like that, but not necessarily treat them with kid gloves when it comes to ideology. And so Dan Crenshaw, obviously, he has been a Republican who seems to have more interest in intervention overseas than like people who would be in more of the, Trump camp of the Republican Party, or more of the libertarian camp of the Republican Party, who might not be in the Trump camp, but they're, still in kind of the populist right side of things. And I don't, I think that might be one of the reasons that a lot of people started kind of turning away from Dan Crenshaw. Like, that's where his popularity kind of started to decline, was on foreign policy. And then also, there's been some other stuff, but like you mentioned, the Dan Crenshaw thing, Tucker Carlson, Dan Crenshaw battle feud, whatever you want to call it, that's been mounting for a while, but really it seems like over Ukraine, like whether we should be involved in that conflict with Ukraine and Russia. And of course, Tucker's gone over and interviewed Putin. And, Dan Crenshaw has not minced words about how he thinks Tucker should be, or he asked actually on Twitter, why isn't Tucker bagging groceries in Moscow? Because Tucker asked why we have such dumb Republican, some of these dumb Republicans, is Texas or something, right? He's like, why does Texas pick these dumb Republicans or something? And why isn't he bagging groceries at Walmart? Which I actually thought was kind of rude. I mean, honestly, I didn't like the dig for the grocery baggers at Walmart on Tucker's part. But anyway, long story short, I don't know what his intentions were, if he was serious or not serious. I mean, I really like it to be so dumb. If you were really serious about that, to be so dumb to say that while you have a mic on, while you're walking away from a reporter, in front of a camera. So I tend to think it was hubris on his part. I think the guy could use a little bit of a humility check. And I think he
so could Tucker Carlson.
I think he was bragging, but because I think you'd have to be so stupid to say that in the situation he was in, if you really meant it, that I don't think he's that dumb. So
let me ask you a question. I know you're not big into sports ball, but when it comes to talking to the media, NFL players, they go through media training. NBA players, they go through media training. WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, they put their athletes, performers through media training. Why do members of government not go through media training? I mean, this just seems like, 101. A camera might be running, my mic might be hot. I'm not going to say something crazy like I'll kill Tucker Carlson. Do you know of anything, any kind of media training that members of?
I don't necessarily know of anything like across the board, but they all have their communications teams, and you would think that they would get briefed on this kind of stuff when because they all get basically a taxpayer supported press officer, and they all have these press teams. So those people are not doing their jobs if they're not telling them. But that's why I think it's a hubris issue. There are people out there, you can tell them a million times and they think they're untouchable. They can say whatever and they're not going to get in trouble, that everybody's worshiping them and isn't going to rat them out or narc them out or whatever you want to call it. That reporter, he tweeted like, dude, the guy was serious.
Yeah.
So the
and then the outlet deleted the video like it didn't live forever. I mean, come on, man.
The free speech wine is the AllisonWinePromo.com. You speak freely because you've had a glass of wine. But remember my advice, do not drink Allison Wine Promo near a hot mic. If you go to Allison Wine Promo and you sign up for the club, Bill's out of here for a second, you will get 6 bottles of amazing wine every 3 months. Okay, so 6 bottles from different places like Chile, Argentina, Spain, France, Italy. Some of the bottles come from between 6,000 and 9,000 feet. So those are extreme altitude wines. They're all grown in very remote places where there are very few people. So there's far fewer pesticides used in the area. The grapes are grown with the utmost care because these are vineyards that have been, in some cases, in families for 200 years, and they're still using the same winemaking technique. So don't go to the grocery store to get your wine. Sign up for AllisonWinePromo.com. You'll keep the show going, and you'll get an amazing glass of wine, and you can give them away. You're not a wine drinker, then all you have to do is keep them and wrap them up. And the next time you have a party, a birthday, holiday, Valentine's Day, Bill's anniversary is coming back up, then you'll have a bottle of wine ready to go. AllisonWinePromo.com.